And honestly, this one might be divisive, but I don't think they necessarily stop, because next up we had Dragon Age the Veilguard. We had a trailer drop down which followed some gameplay that actually showed up yesterday, a full 20-minute deep dive into the Veilguard gameplay, and we had a bunch of brand new details about the game. We saw the looks, some of the changes as well. It's not necessarily the older format that we knew. It's a bit more streamlined in terms of, you know, some of the ability usage, companion usage, I think more action heavy as it were, compared to some of the older games like Origins and such. And just a different look. We saw some of, you know, old characters and such come back in the game. We saw some of the quick gameplays of like the Rook. Really cool stuff. But it is dividing opinion amongst the Dragon Age faithful, man. So before we get to kind of the general consensus on that, and speaking on, you know, that and weighing in, how did you feel about what you saw from Veilguard?
I thought it looked cool. I was like, oh man, this is dope. I haven't heard about this game in a minute. Like, this is pretty sick. Like, shout outs to them. Then I checked the comment section. I was like, oh golly, maybe never mind. I don't know. Y'all are not happy about this. But it looked cool. It looked interesting. I thought that the way they displayed the characters was pretty dope. Like, it was a diverse cast. It seemed like a diverse class, a diverse cast of classes.
Yes,
that's the word that I'm trying to say. But it looked really dope. I know a lot of people are not very happy with the art style. I've seen the Fortnite comments a couple times. I cannot lie, they're pretty funny.
I've seen the Fortnite ones. People said a little bit like Hogwarts Legacy, and that's a whole nother remind me about that in a second. Remind me about that in a second, because I want to kind of veer off a little bit, but continue.
Yeah, like a lot of people were upset about that. I will say this as I don't even want to call myself a fan, because I've played a little bit of Inquisition. I have not beaten any of them. I have seen a lot of content about them, but I myself cannot say that I am a fan. It looked cool to the casual eye. If you're somebody who's into fantasy, I think this is a game that some of them may pick up. And I can say that streamlining the experience will be beneficial to certain people picking the game up. However, I also cannot sit here and pretend like a lot of the people who are upset about this change do not have a valid reason to be upset. You guys are very valid in feeling like, yo, what the heck, this isn't what I wanted. I know, and it's funny because I know a friend of mine is a huge fan of Dragon Age. He actually was a fan of the Origin combat system. He was like, I actually enjoyed that. So I'm not too upset. But I also know that there's a lot of people who are upset. So it's like, you know, the good with the bad. I will say, getting a continuation to that franchise is something to still be excited about. Being able to say, like, you know, the story is finally finishing or going to finish, hopefully, is pretty dope from a perspective of just like a video game fan in general. Maybe this isn't the game that you buy, maybe this isn't the game that you play, but at least you'll be able to watch and know what happens to your favorite characters. Because I mean, like, you can be a Mass Effect fan in 2024, you know, not get shit.
Like, hey, relax, buddy, relax. Hold on. Listen, that shit hurts. Too close to home. But continue.
But no, I think this game is going to be pretty dope, and I am excited to see how it's received, because I also think that it's still very early on in what we've seen. And even after the showcase, I think yesterday, it looked pretty fun to me. But again, I am not a Dragon Age fan. I will leave it up to you guys.
Yeah, this is my thing. I will talk about my personal opinion, and I'll talk about kind of the bit of the divide with people seeing this. My personal opinion, I enjoyed what I saw. The 20-minute snippet, the you know, the gameplay, the trailer, all that stuff. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was decent. I thought it was solid. I'm like, yo, listen, this is something that, you know, looks really good. All the voice acting, the character model work looks really dope. The style may be a little bit different, but I don't think there's actually been, I don't know how consistent the actual look and feel of these games have been from game to game. I've heard people say that there really hasn't been any consistent through lines in terms of the aesthetic and the style, and things have always kind of shifted a little bit. So I don't want to give too much credence to it. I can't speak on it fully, but from what I saw, I enjoyed the look of it. I enjoyed the style of it. I liked the action. I liked the streamlined thing. Again, most likely because I'm a Mass Effect fan first, and knowing what BioWare does, that kind of spoke to me easier. Streamlining that process of having those companions with you, and just kind of while you're in dodging attacks, making it very active. You can take a second, go to the not the activity wheel, but the ability wheel. You can pick something out from a companion here, pick it out from a companion here, still map it out, but you're still in the action. I liked that flow from a Mass Effect standpoint, and I feel like they kind of brought this over. And again, the debates about whether you want to kind of stick to your guns and be more, hey, this is the hard line, bit more, stop starty. You think about the action before you go, like CRPG type run, you know what I mean, instead of more of the actiony vibes and less of the, it's just between, they're moving more towards the Mass Effect model. At least that's what it looks like in my head, you know what I mean. And me, I like that, but some people who are more Dragon Age purists, Dragon Age enjoyers of the entire series, they might take offense to that. They might be like, oh, I don't fucking want this, bruh. So it depends. It just depends on what you're looking at. From me and my perspective and my preference, I liked it. I liked some of the use of, like the magical stuff. The Rook class looked pretty cool, but again, I'm pretty sure they're holding a lot of stuff back. I don't think we saw too much we saw a couple of dialogue options, but we didn't see a crazy vast amount, but I think they're holding that back as well, because that could have implications. Again, I enjoyed it, but a quick side conversation about how the style is and how it looks. I think we were talking with Kendall, shout out to Ken Knows It, and we're talking with Charles, shout out to Charles No Sauce, Charles Z Sauce. What's it called? We were talking about how a lot of these games are being developed in Unreal Engine, and so they might kind of take shape or maybe start to meld a little bit with other games because of that engine, and maybe them trying to strike some type of level of, not necessarily realism, but just kind of like similarity to actual, human models and stuff like that. They might start to mesh a little bit, and some people see it as a problem. Some people see it as, I don't know if they're utilizing the software right. I don't fucking know, because I'm not a game dev and I'm not there every day. You know what I mean? But when, I guess, how do you weigh on the aesthetic, and some people saying that, oh yeah, it might look a little bit too similar to a Hogwarts Legacy, or games that might have been developed in UE5 that kind of take this, just take a more magical route in terms of their subject matter, in terms of the characters that they have. How you feel about that?
I think it's something to be considered on. I think it's a good criticism for people who are like working on UE5 to be able to bring up, like, hey, I feel like all our games are starting to look the same. We need to do something about that. And I think Epic is the one who owns Unreal Engine, if I'm not mistaken. And bringing it up to the company, like, yo, your engine is great, we love using it, but everything looks the same. Is there anything we could do to like help differentiate XYZ? Like bringing that up, I think it's a very valid complaint. I think it's a very valid concern. I am not necessarily burnt out on this level of design, because I still think it looks distinct enough to me. Yeah, like when I looked at it and people were like, this looks like Fortnite, to me it didn't. Like, to me,
I don't think it did personally.
Yeah, but like some people are like, no, I see it. And I guess if you look at it that critically, yes, you can see it. But I also didn't think it took away from my experience at all. Like if you showed me, what the hell is the name of the dude with the crossbow? But if you showed me a picture of him, yeah, if you showed me Varric and then you showed me like Fortnite Steve, I'd be like, they're two different art styles. I'd be like, there's similarities, but they're two different art styles. But I could see you being, but I could be like, yeah, they do share some similarities, I guess. But at the end of the day, it's also just like, it's still an art choice. Like I think there's a lot of Unreal Engine 5 games that don't look like that.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like, again, shout out to the secret third member of No Cooldown. Shout out to Kai. I was about to say, shout out to Kai as always. I literally, when I was on vacation, I was talking with him a little bit. He's like, yeah, just the engine is just kind of like a super blank slate, and there's a lot of leeway there's almost all the leeway in the world that artists and developers and stuff like that have to shape the engine. So sometimes when you go for a similar style, like they're kind of going for close to realistic looking human models, there might be some overlap there, because everybody's going for a realistic human model look. So of course there might be some fucking overlap or similarity. Everybody's trying to make humans, you know what I mean? But if the game is dynamically different, and you're really trying to warp the the look of something, it can be drastically different. I think it's in the eye of the beholder type shit, how you want to craft that model, that character specifically. So I think it's not necessarily as big of a point of contention to us. It just depends on what the artists, the developers, the people who are making these games, what direction that they want to go and what they want to put in, and that might kind of either put guardrails on them or set them on a different path in terms of their art direction. So I just think it breaks down like that. There's a lot more room for them than we think. Now I feel like we're just kind of putting labels on it a little bit. At least in my opinion, we're putting labels on it too much. Where it's like, oh, this looks exactly like Hogwarts Legacy. I'm like, I mean, they're humans. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's gonna be the like for like, but they're humans, so there might be some overlap in how the models move or how they look a little bit to you. But sometimes I'm like, nah, I think the art style is distinct enough between them. This fucking game has elves and shit, dwarves and all that stuff. I think there's enough of a distinct difference to separate those, but that's just me.
Yeah, and I also think like it could just have been an artistic choice the developers decided to make. So it's like, what can I can't really blame anything but their decision. And honestly, again, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Because it's not like I'm gonna boot the game up and be like, oh man, I thought I was playing Hogwarts. I was pressing like, no, I boot my own game. I know what I'm playing. Like, to me, it's not the biggest issue. Yeah, I think it's still a big complaint though, and I think it's worth mentioning because I know my friend Justin, who is my Dragon Age correspondent, is like, yeah, this just doesn't look like dark fantasy to me, and that's the issue that I have. And I'm like, okay, I could see that because to me it doesn't look like dark fantasy either. It just looks like fantasy. True, and it could just be the vertical slice that we got at the this gameplay reveal. It could show something else. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure that was like the place that we were in was like a different, like an underground city or something like that. I can't quite remember, but it could be different to what the actual rest of the game entails. So I'm just saying, based off of the vertical slice, I liked what I saw, especially with the gameplay. It feels a little bit more involved, which may not be the cup of tea that traditional Dragon Age fans might like, but I feel like this was definitely a move to kind of, in my head, I feel like this helps streamline the development of games for BioWare in general, and I feel like they're trying to appeal a bit more to general audiences as well, to get them more involved with the actiony stuff. I wish there could be a world where like the more turn-based stuff and the more the hard set lines between combat considerations and things and planning things out. I wish that they had their full attention of the mainstream, but sometimes it's just not the case. So I understand where they're trying to go with it. And again, for me, I think it's a welcome change. For others, it may just be like, yo, the scum of the fucking earth, get away from me. I need you to burn. And that's fair. This is gonna be a polarizing thing in my opinion, but from what I saw, in my opinion, I think this is something to check out on. And again, this is fall 2024. This is dropping in fall, so I'm glad that they showed a lot. I'm glad they dropped a lot of detail for us, and I think the direction is going to be a welcome one for a lot of people. I think there's going to be a lot of new eyes on the series. The purists and the enthusiasts of the IP may not be as happy at first, but I think there's going to be a lot more commingling between them and new faces who are getting introduced to this series.